BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, and I'm your Wednesday night reviewer with BodyBags, and it is theme week. It is nostalgia week. It is pick that movie that you have loved ever since you were a kid, good or bad. But this one happens to be freaking great because we're talking Don Coscarelli's 1979 nightmare logic filled Phantasm. And it doesn't get better than this as far as I'm concerned. It was directed, it was written, it was shot, it was edited, all by Mr. Coscarelli himself. Of course, the cast, Michael Baldwin as Mike, Bill Thornbury as Jody, his older brother, Reggie, Bannister as Reggie, their friend, and of course Angus Scrimm, the late Angus Scrimm, unfortunately left us in 2016 as the Tall Man. Released by AVCO NBC Pictures. Recently, of course, got the Arrow treatment and also Welgo USA treatment domestically. And so we're going to spend, just me and my son Sam, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about this film and how it impacted not only me, but how it has impacted him and continues to do so. And so here we go. Phantasm, 1979. And when I was a kid, I think the first time, I've told this story on the podcast via voicemail sometime way long ago, I guess. Basically, in short, I think the first time that I ever saw Phantasm, I say 13, but I can't remember exactly. It was somewhere between 11 and 13, I think. It was somewhere in there, but I knew it was playing late at night on HBO. Probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and so I went out there in the living room, and with of course the 25-inch console TV, and kind of with blanket up over me, and the lights off, and the sound really as low as I could. I watched, and I watched, and I watched, and I got so sucked into that thing. Had no idea that my dad had heard was up, came out into the living room, and right at that perfect time was literally just towering over me. I had no clue, and just lays his hands down on my shoulders with "boy," and I surprised I didn't die at that very second. And so he had a good laugh, and we sat down and watched the end. Thoughts, Sam? Thoughts on Phantasm?
I think it's a really great movie, other than some of the stuff that's added into it, some of the unnecessary stuff, but other than those small things that are in it, the grand picture of it, I think was really good for an independent movie. Music was really great.
What do you like about the music?
Like how it's doing this, like.
What kind of images does it conjure up when you hear this music, or even play this music?
Like a dream, of course. A getaway. You know what I mean? Well, I really like it.
Dream is kind of an interesting word, considering that this movie is absolutely, literally steeped in what we would call, or what's called, dream logic, or in this case, maybe more appropriately, nightmare logic. And we often think of films by Lucio Fulci, the Gates of Hell trilogy, and films that, while to some may seem extremely incoherent or just broken up, messy, really isn't at all if you just follow the logic of it. And there is a lot going on underneath the surface of this film, and when you think of things like atmosphere and of course impressions that are given and images, of course you go back to H.P. Lovecraft, and probably the master of these things, and this is Coscarelli's Phantasm in a nutshell. I mean, it's a film about death, life, mourning and grieving over those that we have lost in our life, not knowing how to necessarily process these things, and of course from the perspective of Mike, a young 13-year-old kid who's lost his parents and is clinging on to his older brother who he doesn't want to lose. He's trying to process this loss, which is interesting because I want to make an interesting point about that. You mentioned something about earlier about the tall man and the ice cream truck scene. What was it again?
The tall man on Main Street when Mike was walking on like one side of the street and he looks on the other and he sees the tall man walking, and when they're like parallel of each other, there's Mike, there's Reggie and his truck and the tall man. And what I was saying earlier was like basically like a grand picture of the whole timeline of like how Reggie is like trying to protect and like watch over Mike, and like this reference that he's in between the tall man and Mike.
And that's kind of interesting because, you know, I've often seen that scene play out. I've often saw Angus or the tall man's reaction to Mike, not necessarily the coldness coming out of the truck, but there is something really bigger, and it's funny when you follow the logic through the entire franchise, which is an amazing thing when you consider the film itself, an independent film, $300,000 I think it cost. It's grossed over 11 million domestically here in this country, and it's it's piecemealed out. How long does it take to make this movie?
3-4 years, maybe 2.
And mostly shot on weekends, right?
Yeah.
And it's you know, and so you get a film that's an independent, just that will ultimately spawn this incredible franchise. Of course, the one film that really stands out, that gets the big studio treatment, of course, being Phantasm 2. But the rest of them are probably, you know, go right back to the original film, that independent feel, mostly. But by the end of the franchise, you're really at a weird place where, for the longest time, you've often thought that the perspective was from Mike, but then they sort of flip it around and make it almost seem as though the perspective might have been from Reggie the whole time, and that it was Reggie all along that was dealing with this loss, or trying to protect, and consumed with all of this and not knowing how to process. And I thought, so that's kind of interesting that you picked up on that. A few things about the film, of course, you know, this is the Arrow edition, and last time I checked, which was today, you can still get this on Amazon UK if you're region free for like £70, which is about 30-40 pounds more than what it was when I got it. So if you don't have it, if you've been wanting it, really wanting it, time is probably disappearing before this is, you know, eventually perhaps reaches that out of print stat. But you know, what's weird about this movie too is there was a time, it's really hard to imagine, because we live in the world now of, well, Go USA having given us the box set, Arrow giving us the box set. But there was a point in time when this film, I didn't even have a single copy of this film until one day at Goodwill. I just happened across the VHS for 50 cents or something. And so I finally got it, and then it wasn't long after that I found a copy of the special edition online, and then of course, you know, we were all very happy when Arrow dropped its news and Well Go USA dropped its news. And for those who don't shop out of the US, we're fortunate too that they were at least had a chance to pick up the original Phantasm and Ravager Blu-ray releases via Walmart and probably other places. But it's Phantasm. I mean, this is a film that, as I said, when I was a kid, now we both got to see it on the big screen. That wasn't the first time you saw it though, right?
No, the big screen was the first time I saw it.
That was the first time you saw the movie ever?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Not like images though. I've seen images of it before, but like...
So his first experience seeing Phantasm was literally on the big screen. I was thinking that was just Zombie. But we did get to see it when J.J. Abrams re-released the film, remastered it, and it's got its limited theatrical release, and we did get to see it up in Buffalo, New York, at a theater. And what'd you think of seeing it on the big screen?
It was really nice. Wish I could do it again. Or like sitting up on like the back or like middle and just watching on like a grand you know.
Now, having seen it multiple times, I'll tell you, man, the job J.J. Abrams did was fantastic. The remaster, just the transfer, the sound. There were things I picked up watching it on the big screen that I had never even really picked up on before. Just one example in the cemetery scene in the beginning, just with the rain falling, I guess hit me in a way it never hit me before. And that's the beautiful thing when you see new transfers and things come out. So, Phantasm. I really don't know a whole lot what more to say about this film. I mean, I don't know what there is not to like about it. I mean, it is steeped in nightmare logic, and for some, they have a hard time following that idea. But for me, I mean, do you have a hard time following it?
No, I understand.
Just the narrative as it plays out, and it is a film that is images. It's built upon imagery and illusion and just a lot of metaphors going on, and just it may come across as incoherent and not make sense, but it really does in the end. The film makes, I think, all the sense in the world, just like any one of Fulci's movies that, you know, it just turns people off sometimes. I don't know.
You know, I did understand 1 to 4, but when I saw 5 for the first time, that was kind of confusing since it was jumping this dimension, this dimension, this dimension. Oh, he's alive. He's still alive. They're all still alive in the end. The small guy's still alive.
Yeah, it's the only one that wasn't directed by Don Coscarelli, although he had a big hand in its, you know, in being involved in it. It was not directed by him, and unfortunately, you know, that may be the end of Phantasm. I don't know. I don't know if we'll get another one or not ever get another one, but yeah. So this is theme week again, and you know, I thought I'd just take a few minutes and look at Phantasm. Of course, this is the beautiful Arrow release of it, and it really even 70 pounds. I don't know if it's you're getting all the films, the special features, a nice book, a sphere, and nice box it comes in, and you know, it's a beautiful transfer, and of course, I'm sure some out there have the Well Go USA box set. And of course, you can still find individual, you know, the individual release of these films via Amazon. If you've never experienced Phantasm, I don't know what you're waiting for. This is it is a film that really impacted me as a kid, and I was glad that he got to see it on the big screen for the first time. His viewing is on the big screen, and it's just it's one of those movies that just, it never seems to ever leave you, ever.
Yeah. It's been 2-3 years since I first saw it. If you never asked me or like never took me on watching it with you, I never saw it. If I never saw it, I probably would be a little different. Well, probably a big difference right now of like what movies I would like, of course.
So you
music
think,
and stuff.
So you think this movie impacted you in the music and other films that you like? See, I mean, the movie has this unreal, uncanny sort of ability to, and maybe this is what, I mean, maybe having seen this as a young kid, it probably set the stage for my gravitating to things like the Gates of Hell trilogy and just films built on imagery and this nightmare logic, say. It's I mean, that's what I lean towards for some reason. I don't know. I don't mind it. It intrigues me to kind of just get sucked in and not necessarily have to have everything linear in a way that has to go step by step by step by step. I don't mind not doing that. In fact, I like not doing that. So VHS82 apostrophe theme week again, nostalgia, and I can't think of many other movies other than the original Phantasm that has impacted my life in such a way that it will never leave my life. And I'm very thankful for Arrow as well as Well Go USA, just for these companies offering up these releases. And also a quick shout out to my UB Bulls who took down Arizona State and now have to take on the Red Raiders. That'll be a much larger task, but hoping the UB Bulls do some more damage in this tournament before it's over. And anyways, as always, we'll leave here with Go Bills.